Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Scottish Football Podcast, episode number 53. Is it now, 54?
53.
That
so
was close.
55 will be, the way we fucking upload, 55 will be fucking trophy day.
No, you're doing that on purpose. That's purposeful by you. Look, we're here today to talk about what's happened over the weekend. We've got a lot to cover, actually. We've got the Scottish international duty that's coming up for a lot of the players. We've got a quiz at the end. We've got the other games. There's tons to talk about. And as always, I'm happy to be joined by Mr. David Buick. David, how are you doing, mate?
All right, yeah, I'm excited. Loads of football happening just now. I tweeted about it on Saturday. Like, I've had a mad week. Done film on Saturday, done film on Tuesday, Scotland Thursday, done film on Saturday, Scotland Sunday, Scotland Wednesday. So loads of football, so I'm happy.
And then, of course, we're joined by the man who's still off the back of celebrating the league title win. Sharp Div. Div, how you doing, my man?
Better than you, I think, mate. Better than you. But I was just saying the same with David there. The amount of football that we've got at the moment's obviously brilliant. The league's wrapped up, but the fact that we now need to kind of squash the Scottish Cup into so many months, you've got the World Cup qualifiers, and then it goes straight into the Euros, man. It's a lot to look forward to.
Exactly. You look across the leagues, you've got the Championship still flowing, you've got League 1 and 2 back in action. As you said, World Cup qualifiers leading into the Euros. There is so much to cover over the next few months that, you know, usually when we get to this point in the season, we're about done. There's actually, it feels like it's just kind of kicking off in a sense because there's been a lot of things gone and out the road for quite a while. But look, I want to start the show very quickly. And David, I'll let you kind of take the wings on this. We wanted to kind of touch on it in TSF, not for too long because it's been covered. I think we've all said our piece on social media. We've all echoed the exact same thoughts. But about racism in football, very quickly, it's a matter that it doesn't look as though it's going to go away. But we've got to certainly try. And we've seen events unfurl over the past week, starting with Prague, and then on social media over the weekend, post Derby as well. It's been really a brutal scene, David, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was when we were sitting here watching the game on Thursday night. No, I think we switched over to the Man United game.
We did. We switched back to see what happened.
But I mean, straight away, without even like reading too much into it, you could see what had happened. It's as clear as day to anyone with half a brain what happened based on everything that happened, what you see, and the fallout. So yeah, we wanted to record last Friday for a number of reasons. We couldn't. So I don't want to dwell on this too much because it's been covered. We've said our piece, but obviously, I think the best thing over the course of the weekend was the way Scottish Football United to stand with Kamara. That was great. I know the Scott Brown pre-match thing, I think for some reason he's taking stick over that, which I find absolutely bizarre. Thought that was a great gesture. And yeah, I just think that the way the vast majority of people, whether it should be fans on Twitter, the clubs, Rangers themselves, Goldson, I thought everyone has handled it very, very well. Obviously, people, I mean, Neil McCann was obviously at Inverness. He was post-match after the Dunfermline game. Neil McCann, obviously Kamara's manager at Dundee, echoed all the same thoughts. A quiet guy, you know, definitely not the type to get involved in sort of heated situations. So, you know, it's as clear as day to all of us what happened, and it's great to see that everyone stood with him. I know Div's had a lot of thoughts, and basically this is me now wanting to direct. Div did a video on it yesterday. Did it go up, Div?
Yeah, mate. Aye.
Yeah, so about a 15-minute video just going in depth on everything. Brilliant watch. And I mean, I don't know about you, Div, but for me, I said it on Twitter, there's obviously arseholes out there who, you know, with all situations like this, people look for negatives and all the rest of it. But certainly the most encouraging thing has been the way fans of all clubs, players, managers have kind of stood with Kamara throughout all this.
I think I said it in my video as well. I've been proud of Scottish football, the way that they've handled it. Every single club and every single fellow professional, Glenn Kamara as well, and his teammates, his manager, they've all had his the support, and just the way that Scottish football has dealt with it in general has been brilliant. I did say at the tail end of my video, it'd be good for like the SFA and stuff like that now to speak up, because they were getting a wee bit of flack, but they've then come out yesterday. They're trying to make strides towards eradicating racism as well. So that was kind of the final piece in the jigsaw for me in Scottish football, and that's that. And we even had Andy Robertson out today in an interview, echoing the same thoughts that we've all been echoing over the course of the weekend as well. And it's just something that needs to be eradicated. The fact as well, a professional football player's done it to another professional football player has just been absolutely disgusting. The way that Slavia Prague reacted to it was disgusting, and then the way that the fans reacted to it as well was. But we can only go off of our clubs, our players, and our governing bodies and such. And I think we've handled it brilliantly. To be quite honest.
I think you're right. I think we can only keep our house in order. And I think, you know, the SFA have taken some stick. the thing is, I mean, I'm not entirely convinced there will be much action taken against Slavia Prague after this because of literally the player has done it. He's been clever with it because he's obviously known what he's going to do. He's taken the precautions to make sure nobody heard it or saw it. So the tough thing is, I think the biggest sort of, moving on from the initial kind of outpouring support for Kamara and all the rest of it, people in Scotland have done their best. I think the next sort of step for us is, I think Stephen Reid, Scotland assistant, said it this morning. People are getting fed up hearing about we need to stop racism. We need to actually do it now. It's all good, taking the knee and listen, all gestures I support, and listen, you've got to bring light to these issues before you act on them. But you actually do have to act on them. And, whilst we're all here and we're proud of the way that the Scottish football scene has reacted to it, we're not perfect. We saw it was an incident after the Old Firm game on Sunday. Again, encouraging that immediately fans of all clubs were shutting it down, trying to, call attention to it and act on it. But now is kind of the time for action, Ryan. We've got to kind of take a proper firm step at this now.
No, absolutely. Look, it seems like something that I've said this in my own video. It seems virtually impossible to try and get rid of it. There's just that many clowns in and around the world now that it just seems like something that some people never understand and will never be drilled through to, which is sad. But we have got to, that doesn't mean you stop trying. It doesn't mean you stop trying to make the reasonable strides towards trying to abolish it completely. Like, these people should be and hopefully will be prosecuted the way they should be, and hopefully we can move on and people can learn from it. Whatever they do or don't is a different story, but look, we're making strides and we just need to continue doing so. It was absolutely shocking to see some of the scenes after the game on Sunday, the one incident which kind of blew up that we all seen, and now apparently the police are involved, and good. I hope that there is punishments. I hope that you see this kind of behaviour condemned by Celtic, condemned by Scottish football, and the likes of stadium bans and stuff put in place, because there is no place for it. And look, very, very quickly, just like to say thoughts go out to the likes of Glenn Kamara, Kemar Roof, Alfredo Morelos, who need to stand by and deal with this, and their families have to stand by and deal with this and just watch. And there's only so much they can do as public figures. There's only so much they can do now. And sometimes it just feels like they have to sit there and take it without being able to act. And I feel bad for that, and I feel bad for their families who are as well are in that same boat. So my thoughts with them, and hopefully we do make the right steps to get rid of it.
Yeah, it does feel like now we're kind of at a turning point where it's gone from, over the last sort of 5, 10, 15 years, we've had campaigns to kind of show up racism and all the rest of it. Now it feels like we're getting to the point where the players are getting fed up having to do this. They're getting fed up having to point out racism. Now, I mean, you heard Conor Goldson's interview on Friday. It was just pain and anger. They're just fed up of having to deal with it. And it does feel like over the next wee while we're going to start to see proper steps taken to eradicate it, which is obviously a good thing, Dev.
Aye, absolutely. The Conor Goldson interview, obviously the day after in the press conference, was heartbreaking because you could see the pain all over his face, all over, like, in his eyes and everything like that. And he was obviously saying that he thinks it's almost like a token gesture now, the taking of the knee, and you've got to agree with him. And some of the stuff that he came out and says was very powerful, and I love the fact that Rangers let him go out and say that as well, because sometimes football clubs try and don't let their players say what they really want to say, and that's what I've loved throughout all of this as well, the fact that they just let him go out and say exactly what he had to say. Power back to the players, power to guys like Conor Goldson, and it was heartbreaking, to be quite honest. And it was like, what do we do? What do we do? And I think we need to be proactive, as I say in my video. It's no longer just all right not to be racist. We need to be proactive, and we need to get it out ourselves, because sometimes it's like they take the knee and all that. We stand behind it 100%, and you're waiting for change, but there's only so much we can change as well. So now that we're seeing that it's almost like a token gesture, I think we need to fucking force the issue ourselves, and we need to make stuff about it. Like, we need to let players talk about it at all opportunities. So it was just a terrible predicament, and it's all players as well. This is happening as well. Jude Bellingham at the weekend, and Tav says it's happened to every single Rangers player, and it'll be happening to every other player, because there's clowns everywhere, and it's a shame.
It's wild, and it's obviously a sour incident that kind of tarnished the weekend, but it is good to see some sort of progression off the back of it. As I said at the start of this conversation, go and check out Dev's video. It goes a bit more in depth in it. But yeah, I'm glad we kind of got our chance to say our piece and start this. But you know what? Let's move on to football. Let's get the light-hearted mood back to these podcasts we usually do, and talk about a very boring Old Firm game. I thought, right now, I'm joking. Take it away.
Look, let's start off with the derby. Let's start off with the game of the weekend. It was, of course, the one that was in the headlights. A game in which, yeah, I guess from a neutral point of view, you would be disappointed for large portions of the game, Celtic and Rangers, and a game that was, let's be honest, at the end of the day, a bit of a dead rubber tie. For as much as we all want to win these derbies, and I will always echo that, and I will always say that as loud as possible, you want to win these games, no matter what the meaning is, no matter what competitions, and you want to win them, right? There's no such thing as saying it doesn't matter, because it does, but in the big picture, Rangers have won the league, Celtic are far off the mark. You know, it was a kind of, in terms of that sort of the bigger picture of things, it wasn't the game that we're usually set out for. But from a Celtic fan point of view, I'll kick us off before I kind of bring Div into the conversation and yourself, David. I think that Celtic will find themselves incredibly frustrated once again from the derby match, a game I feel like we were on top of for the large portions of it, and probably should have got something from it at the end of the day. We learn from our mistakes. We've made the same mistakes. We need to learn from that. It feels like we don't learn from that, but you look at the amount of chances that we had in the game, shooting right down the keeper's neck, giving McGregor, and this is not taking anything away from Alan McGregor, he's arguably the best keeper that I've seen in my life in this country, but hitting every shot down his neck, making life easy for him, defensively, giving away a cheap goal once more, poor marking from a set piece. It was just the same old problems for Celtic, and we tried to chase the game. Once again, the same problems came in from what we've seen with Neil Lennon, with tactical naivety, leaving substitutions. David, you said, you've seen this on Twitter already, you know, it almost felt like he was playing for extra time. And look, once again, we walk away without a win in a game that which, when the final whistle goes, you think to yourself, we should have won. So that's my take on the game. But a game that I think, yeah, did disappoint to an extent, but there was certainly lively parts of it, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Dev, but it definitely felt to me that Rangers were just, for the first 15, 20 minutes, look, they were feeling the effects of Thursday, both physically, emotionally, mentally. Took a while to get going. And it's not really what we've come to expect from Rangers in derby games. Normally they start very high tempo, aggressive in the middle of the park, but Celtic kind of grew into it better. But what I will say is I thought the start of it was pretty boring and the end of it was pretty boring, but there was a period in the middle, Dev, where it did feel like a bit like a normal Old Firm game. I
think once the El Yunusi chance went in, like when obviously they scored the goal, it started to liven up a wee bit, and then Celtic had more opportunities and Rangers get the goal back. I'm struggling to remember large parts of the game, to be quite honest, because I did have a couple of beverages, but as you say, Ryan, it feels like getting into it, it's a dead rubber, but as soon as that first whistle goes, you want to win that. You want to win that game, and you're getting frustrated when you're watching your team and they're not doing what they usually would do. I think in the first 20 odd minutes, Rangers did look a wee bit lethargic, and the goal kind of woke them up without them being brilliant, and they get themselves back into the game. The second half, I didn't feel as though we were as bad. Obviously, still won themselves, to be quite honest, but I didn't feel as though we were as bad. But I think we need to remember as well, we were coming off of the back of a massive game midweek, weren't we? And even the team selection as well, I think, for Gerrard was interesting. Obviously started Balogun because of Nathan Patterson, obviously had a knock, but when Patterson came on, I think he eradicated Celtic's ability to go down that right-hand side, which I think that they should have probably took advantage of a wee bit more in the first half, probably due to the finishing in the final third that they weren't able to. It was just just one of the games. Even Yanis Hadji as well starting in the game. That wouldn't usually happen, I don't think. So Gerrard was a wee bit different in his team selection, but it was good because, as you said, Rangers have already won the league, so it was a chance for some of your players to go out and do their thing. But
yeah, it was the game kind of summed up Celtic season in a sense. I mean, there's obviously talented players there at the top end of the park, especially, who can make things happen. But yeah, again, I mean, the goal is just a comedy of errors. First of all, whatever John Joe Kenny's up to.
To give away that corner is utter stupidity. There's no need for that to happen whatsoever.
I actually do think some of the criticisms that Hollander was getting was a wee bit harsh, to be honest, because I think that the cross for Edwards brilliant. I know that I think Hollander needs to be in the exact right position to defend that.
Well, the cross is in the exact right position. That's the thing. It is a pinpoint cross.
Exactly. And I've seen some criticisms for Hollander, and I think that's because of how good his positional sense has been for Rangers over the course. And I think I've got to take my hat off to the cross for Edward. I think it's precision and it's a good finish. Just to touch on the Celtic goal there.
But that's the thing. That just shows what Celtic can do at the top end of the park. They've got that in them. And although I mean Celtic were probably the better side in terms of the balance of playing chances, but I still thought Turnbull was quiet. You know, I didn't think he was at his best as he normally is. Edward and Elyounoussi linked up very, very well. You know,
I think that was a performance in which I think it goes to show that we should perhaps explore the option of signing Elyounoussi on a permanent. There is no denying that he's a fantastic footballer.
There's a lot of cash in it. He'd need to fit into the system.
Yeah, well, you're talking about £5 million here. The rumours floating about it be £5 million. And when you get performances like that you do at the weekend, and then there's a clear indication of how good a footballer he is, David. I'll let you obviously continue what you're saying, but you're playing him off that left hand side. You see that link up with Edouard, who drifts in and around the middle and going out left. It works very well.
Yeah, it did work well, but I think if Celtic get a manager who knows what formation he's going to play, rather than picking out a Tumble every Saturday, then they might sign him. But I mean, the whole bizarre thing about signing him last summer was Celtic ended the season 3-5-2, and then they go and sign Elyounoussi, which made no real sense. So hopefully, if they get a manager in who knows what he's going to do, he will be a good signing. No doubt he's a talented player, and for £5 million, it probably would be a good move, provided they're going to play him in the system. I don't really know what else to say about the game at the weekend. Al McGregor again was really, really good.
Morelos' goal.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was always the cards.
I can die a happy man now that he's scored that goal.
It's crazy that out of all the podcasts that we've done covering all the derbies, we've continuously had that conversation of will this finally be the one? I was pretty confident that I would never see Morelos score in the derby.
You're adamant.
I was, off camera. I may have, allegedly, I was adamant that he would never score a derby. But it was just, it was destined to happen, wasn't it, Div? The fact that everything the way it's happened, it has this season. He's going 155. Morelos finally gets his goal against Celtic. That's also his 55th career league goal at Rangers. All these different things. It was like destiny. It kind of had to happen, didn't it?
The finish was just so Morelos as well. I think it's why he scores so many goals. He anticipated where obviously the ball was going to go. He sees the flight. He knows he's not going to be the one getting on the end of it, so he just peels off to the back post and the ball falls to him. And thankfully this time he puts it in the back of the net using the old Jaggy Bunnett.
Yeah.
And I've always thought for ages, right, what's this guy going to do when he finally scores that goal? And he just done his normal celebration.
You can tell, I mean? Like, see when it happened.
Just his normal celebration.
See when it happened, for me, I was like, you can tell he desperately wants a crowd there, though, didn't he? Like, he would have loved the crowd there.
You might have seen something different if there was a crowd, but aye.
It's a good point you made on the Morelos goal, because I've always felt that I don't feel like he's a brilliant natural finisher, but I feel like his anticipation of things is fantastic. A lot of his goals, he's in the right place. See, when you see like situations where he's got time, I'm not that confident he's going to score. You think of that League Cup final last year, the amount of chance he had where he's got time to think about it and doesn't really, look convincing. But those situations where it's instinctive, he tends to do quite well in those situations.
It's such a weird one because usually a good finisher will coincide with a good goal scorer.
Yeah.
And I think he is an exceptional goal scorer, but sometimes his finishing isn't great.
Yeah.
Which is a weird one, but you always get that from Morelos. You'll always put in 100%, even if it's not getting his way. That's why he still gets 3, 4, 5 chances a game.
Yeah.
And that's why he'll always get goals. And I think even when he goes through the levels, if he moves on for Rangers, if Rangers make the Champions League, I think he can make that step up because he'll always get chances. It's just whether I think you stick by him. See when he goes through sometimes these droughts, you need to stick by him because he's always getting chances. And he'll always bounce back.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know if there's much else you want to throw in about the derby at the weekend, since it's been kind of
the penalty.
So, we've got those.
I'm not having that penalty claim.
We've got the penalty claim in the first half from Edouard. Booked for simulation. I feel like
stick it in the fucking net. The goal's empty, man.
That's the most baffling thing about it for me. It's not even the fact that there is a claim for a penalty or this, that, next thing. I think it's the fact he doesn't shoot first time. If he shoots there, you're virtually shooting into an open goal. He has the chance to put Celtic in a comfortable position, and he should have took it. And if he did, you know, it would
But
have
that
been very
afternoon could
different.
have turned out so differently. If he puts that in for 2-0, Celtic are well on top and 2-0 up now.
Yep.
You know, Rangers are going to be really, really tested there with the way Celtic were flying forward at the time. There's one angle of the incident from behind the goal where you can totally see that he's just...
Yeah, that's the angle that I've just... So I wanted to kind of... So there's talk of a second half one that I've not seen yet at all. Like, I've still not found that. I can't find it. I missed it at the time and I still can't see it. I've tried my hardest. So while we were all talking away there, I was scrolling through Twitter and looking through all the different things about Edouard and the dives and all the rest of it. And I've seen that one angle from behind the goal, which kind of changes everything for me. Now, at first, I wasn't sitting there saying that's a stone wall or anything. You can see that in my videos. I wasn't really...
Very clumsy from Barisic. Very clumsy.
Yeah, I wasn't on that side of that's a stone wall. And, you know, Browns came out and said it's a stone wall. And I think he had a few people in the punditry. And,
he went full Celtic Dan his post-match, didn't he?
Aye. I think he had a few people siding with him in the media and such. But when you see it from that angle, especially, I think it kind of confirms it's not a penalty. It is a weird one, though. I think it goes down anticipating it, and it definitely is simulation, I think. But it's such an odd one. There looks as though there might be the slightest of contacts, but it doesn't.
If it was given, I think the only person Barisic can blame is himself, because it's a stupid challenge. He's got no need to dive in there, really. He's not going to get the ball. But yeah, I don't think it was a penalty. I think it was the right decision in the end for me.
A lot of people giving him the stick this weekend, Edouard, a bit about it. You know,
he had such a good game too, as well. He looks really, really good.
It was just in front of goal. It was just in front of goal where he's usually so good.
Yep,
is where he kind of came up short. I don't know.
Very similar to the Dundee United game.
I don't know if it's just maybe a lack of confidence or a lack of concentration, because even the opportunity that kind of goes through Alan McGregor's legs, you maybe expect Edouard to hit that first time, as he takes a touch. So I don't know if it was a lack of concentration or a lack of confidence for it to go. I think his overall game was good in the game. I think as well, Celtic's movement in the final third was his best I've seen it probably all season. It was just that finishing that they couldn't get, and again it just came back to bite them in the arse with that guy scoring at the back post. It's
just one of those ones now. I think we're just well and truly want to get to the end of the season now at the Celtic camp. I think that goes for the fans, the players, and everybody. There is that just kind of lingering feeling now that things are done. And I think we're all just kind of hoping that the end comes as quick as possible. Look, we're in for a big change, and we'll come on to that. We've got to talk about quite a big topic.
Through the rest of the games first.
Let's go through the games first. Yes, of course. So that was a derby. Are we looking forward to the second one post split? Well, the fourth one post split.
I am, because obviously that was a wee bit of an anticlimax. That game, even though I wasn't really up for the game until day of the game, because everything that had happened, to be quite honest, and the fact that Rangers had already won the league. But now that we've went into that game and we haven't really played our best, I want to go and play at Ibrox to a maximum, and I want to take off 3 points.
So you're the exact same as me in the sense that it wasn't to the day to get. Usually I go through my wee tradition, you know, I get the Vice documentary on, I get the music playing, I've got my scarf waved in the air. No, I'm joking, but I usually have it, you know, the night before, the butterflies and such. But literally, I woke up at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. I was like, Christ, here we go. This is it now. I was like, that was it, just hit me. So I'm looking forward to the next one. We'll see what happens. But we'll move on to the rest of the games around the league this weekend.
We've got to start at Kelly.
You want to start at Kelly, aye?
Oh, we've got to.
You're interrupting my flow there. I was getting gone. No, but we'll start at Kelly then. I mean, what a result for Tommy Wright's men against Motherwell. You'd hate to be Gogsy right now. We were saying that Kilmarnock were down and out last week. And what did I say afterwards, David? The way things are going this season, I don't think still, right now, you can predict who is going to go down. It's a roller coaster of emotions at the bottom of the table. Kelly with a win that lifts him off the bottom. What a shock of a result, though, David.
Yeah, and I think Kyle Lafferty's made such a difference. We said when he signed it'd be a big signing. He obviously gets the goal really early on, but having watched the highlights, he's heavily involved throughout the game. And his experience in terms of you play him as a lone striker, he's even for club and country, especially his performances for Northern Ireland over the years. He can galvanise teams, and he's made a big difference. Motherwell are lucky they went on a wee run there a few weeks back, because I mean they were very poor again, as they have been multiple times throughout the season. I would say they're probably almost definitely safe now, though the gap.
Yeah, they're a bit too far ahead of Hamilton.
But again, they're not having a good time of it. The one for Graham Alexander to build next year, but for Kelly, what a result! And for them to score 4 goals is just unheard of, because they've been really struggling for a goal this season. And just when you think one team, as you said, is done, they go and pull a rabbit out of a hat, and it's going to be a fascinating run in for the relegation drop.
Div, as David's already kind of alluded to there, a very fascinating battle down at the bottom, now heading into the split. Does that result fill you with confidence that Tommy Wright is now going to find a formula to keep his team in a division?
You would think that it would. There was signs in the last game with Kyle Lafferty coming in and he scored 2 goals, but it wasn't enough. In this game, they get 4 goals. They obviously concede the 1. You would think that they would potentially go on a wee run and the Kyle Lafferty factor could come into effect, especially playing some of the lower teams. But you just never know, because we've seen the Ross County go and batter Aberdeen before. We've seen, do you know what I mean? They've beat Celtic numerous times. They've beat Hibs and such. And then you get Hamilton that put in massive performances like they did as well. So it's such a weird one. So I guess we'll just need to see in the next game, to be quite honest, if they can continue this form.
Yeah.
But I will say, though, out of the 3, Hamilton just always seem to get the results, didn't they, against the teams?
I know they pull it out of nowhere. I know the split might actually favour somebody like Hamilton, I think. But then again, we'll wait and see how it goes. Look, I was surprised looking on as the score coming in. I've had my good mate Stevie kind of lambast me over the past month or so because I have been very much against Motherwell. Not in the sense I want to be against them. I've not got a burning hatred down inside for Motherwell, but I've just not had a lot of faith in them. And this is the kind of result that I've been waiting on. I haven't been speaking too fondly of them in the past few shows, and that's even with their little run of form. I do like Graham Alexander, and I do like his idea there that he's got, and I think that they're going to move forward well with him, but I still think it's going to be a tough run till the end of this season. He really needs that summer to come up now and for him to work with what he's got there, because it's a team right now that I just find very hard to believe. But I find it hard to believe that they'll get anywhere with the players they've got and such just now. I just don't know what it is about it. There's something I just look at them every week, and this result is another fine example of that. But look, they'll go into this split now knowing that they should be one of the best teams there. So there is a chance for Graham Alexander and his team to show that they are comfortably still a Premiership side. Because if you look at them, they've not changed too much from last season, but they've still... They should be able to show how good they are in this split, is what I'm trying to aim at. I think that's the message.
Under Graham Alexander, they have just been so hot and cold.
Nah, that's
what's been a positive for them is they're picking up results and they're going on wee tiny runs, but then they can come up against, like they did against Kelly, and get absolutely battered. Yep. They get absolutely battered versus Hamilton as well.
Exactly.
So it probably is a clear-out that he's needing, Ryan, because they're not his players at the end of the day, so big window for him.
I find it hard to just put it into words because of how inconsistent they've been. They make it so hard to gauge where they are as a club. As you said, I feel like that summer is going to be important for Alexander. David, you look as though
this comes back to the problem Stephen Robertson had, in that finishing 9th and well clear of relegation for Motherwell, a club the size of Motherwell, is not a dreadful season by any accounts. And it's the fact that over the last 3, 4, 5 years, they've been top half consistently, up near 3rd and 2nd even. They've been so spoilt with that. And if you ask any Motherwell fan who's kind of level-headed and been around, this is not a dreadful season for Motherwell. We've got to remember that when they had the Rangers in that playoff and they could have gone down, they almost got relegated, and the financial consequences of that could have been catastrophic for Motherwell. So, this is still, by all accounts, compared to last season, the squad, it's not been a great season. But there is a danger of kind of overreacting and saying that Motherwell are vastly underachieving.
Yeah, of course.
But you're right. Once Alexander gets his own players in the summer, I'm excited to see how he does.
Outside of that, it wasn't the most entertaining weekend.
Well, you're just talking rubbish, because it really was. The battle for the top 6 was absolutely huge.
Apart from I mean, the 6th place kind of battle was nice. That was nice to watch. But in terms of results, I watched back the highlights over the weekend, and I wasn't fascinated with what I seen. It wasn't.
Well, I was. Listen, sitting inside East End Park, watching the results come through. Who was in its 6th place?
I was about to say that. I thought you were going to say sit East End Park. I was like, that'd been a fucking hard. That wasn't a Premiership game, was it? But
maybe no the overall play for the battle of top 6, but for the big moments,
I thought the storyline was
absolutely huge.
Yeah. I thought the whole story, the whole day was huge. I mean, and the build up to it as well. Listen, everyone and their dog laughed at Tony Fitzpatrick pre-season when he said St Mirren would finish top 6.
That's what I wanted to.
And ultimately, we're all vindicated because they didn't finish top 6, but they came so close. St Johnstone with a comfortable win. It was only 1-0, but it was a comfortable win. And Ross County never really threatened. I think they had 2 shots on target, maybe not even that. And yeah, Hamilton at home at St Mirren. I fancied Accies, I have to say. St Mirren went ahead. Accies paid them back, and it's the typical sort of Hamilton result this time of the season. They just keep the points going on the board, and Yeah, St Mirren fans are gutted because they kind of had the heart set in it, having gone from losing the semi-final of the Betfred Cup, where they had a real chance of getting to the final, to then missing out in the top six. It's kind of one of those for St Mirren, again, a great season, but try to tell that to St Mirren fans just now, they'll all be gutted. Flip it, St Johnstone, 10 years in the bounce. There's your 10 in a row, folks.
10,
top six.
That's a 10 in a row, aye. That's a 10 in a row.
And a cup in the bargain. What a season for them.
Well, a couple of cups in the space of that 10 years, actually. So throw that into their 10 in a row. Look, I was gutted for St Mirren. I've been kind of championing them all season to try and go for that top six. Apart from the point where it looked as though they were proper in trouble. They were down towards that bottom three. But at the start of the season, I had that a kind of a bit of blind faith in them that they would go and challenge for that top six. And they really gave it a good go. They certainly did. And it was just that kind of last couple of moments that they bottled it for them.
They've had a great season, though.
They've had a great season. That's just like, I don't think that Jim Goodwin and even Tony Fitzpatrick can be even close to disappointed with what they've done this season. As a football club, they've came great strides, and they've done it at the same time as being also entertaining and attracting the eye of everybody. I would say I don't think they're a team that have been ugly to watch. I don't think they're a team that makes you want to turn the telly off. They've been a team that they've actually been thoroughly enjoyable this season. So I think they should be quite happy with what they've done. But look, this is it's a good building block for them though, because now they move on, now they go into next season, and they'll have a real urge to go and try and do it again, and this time get over the line and get into the top six. And there's no reason why they can't. It's all about keeping that consistency though. We know how easy it is for teams to do so well, and in the next season do also bad. You only have to look as far as the last team we spoke about in Motherwell to see the example of that. But look, I think that with Jim Goodwin in charge, I'd be very hopeful of where the club would be going anyway if I was a St Mirren fan.
Yeah, sealing him in a 4-year contract huge as well. In terms of managers in this country whose stock has rose in the last 12 months, he's got to be up there. And what I agree with you, they play some really nice football at times. But what I like about Jim Goodwin is he's not afraid to switch it up and play a beak up front and go long if he has to. So yeah, what a season he's had. But can we talk about Callum Davidson? Because I mean, pre-season, I tell you,
he was talking about Callum Davidson.
But listen, I just saw it coming. I didn't actually know. That's a lie. I did not see him having this good.
Had a feeling in the pellets.
Just because he came in at Dunfermline as a coach, right, and won 5 in the bounce in the 5 games he was there. Then he left and we almost got relegated. So I've just championed him ever since. But I mean, to take over from Tommy Wright, who had got top 6 9 years in the bounce, unbelievable. To even get them comfortably surviving, I say would have been a result for him this season, because he's obviously wants to try and implement his style, his philosophy. But you've now got a squad there they've got numerous players now who, are tipped for big moves. Some even tipped for the Scotland squad. You've got, like Ali McCann in midfield, really players. You've got Stevie May back contributing this season.
Yep.
Rooney obviously playing the back four, Jason Kerr, McCart, really good players. And to win a cup as well, what a season for St Johnstone, Devon. I don't know how they do it. It's unbelievable. You talk about clubs that have overachieved. 10 years in the top 6. Wow.
I know. If you just look at the way that he's went there, tried to change the style, it took his time, didn't he? Because he had to, I think, get the house in order at the back. There was a lot of clean sheets. There was a lot of not scoring. But then when it clicked for him, it really did click. And they've just not looked back. And as you said, a cup, top 6, what more can you ask for? And they'll look to build for that, because they've got a young team, a young back line, McCann in the middle. Even Glenn Middleton have had on loan this season. If they can implement some more young players, they could really push next season as well.
St Johnstone are really what I dreamed Dunfermline could be. Because see, in terms of size of club, support, history, fan base, all the rest of it, there's not that much of a difference at all.
No, there's not. No.
St Johnstone, the precedent for teams like Dunfermline, Falkirk, Dundee, teams like that. St Mirren are trying to obviously emulate now. That's the sort of, they're writing the playbook on that. But I think St Johnstone, they went in that run November, December time. I think they were unbeaten in like 11 or something.
Yeah, but 11 or 12 games.
Yeah, they haven't looked back from their Ryan, and I'm just delighted that Callum Davidson.
Yeah, you've certainly vindicated in what you said pre-season. When we were talking about the predictions and how good a coach he would be, I was a bit more sceptical. In terms of Ross County, very quickly, because we've not said much on them. I think John Hughes will be slightly disappointed from his team's efforts. Once again, another one of those ones where I think you'll be left wondering where they've went. But it's St Johnstone a good side at the end of the day. So being away from home and losing to them, there's no shame in it. But as you said, David, a team that is now kind of writing their own playbook on how things should be done, and a real good example for other clubs who'll be below them, and not just our league but other leagues. And I'm looking forward to see where, once again, same thing as Jim Goodwin. I'm looking forward to see what they do next season, because I think, once again, sky's the limit. They recruit well. They have good players there. How many can they hold on to in the summer? And then where do they go from that? He'll want to go and build as much of a success he can there, year in, year out. Cam Davidson, because I don't see him leaving anytime soon or anything like that. So it'll be truly fascinating to watch over the next few years.
Yeah,
the storylines going into next season is just going to be brilliant. It's a good time for Scottish football. Celtic trying to bounce back, Rangers trying to retain, Hibs under Jack Ross. He's come under a wee bit of criticism recently, even though he looks like he'll get third position. Can he come back? Whoever's taking over at Aberdeen, which I'm sure we'll get on to, and then the three managers under that, and your Martindale.
And you've got Hearts back in the league too.
Hearts back in the league, and hopefully for David Dunfermline back.
And you've got Dundee United as well, who want to push again for top.
Dundee United, exactly. There you go.
So
that kind of kicks off nicely where I wanted to go, and starting with the next couple, because the next couple of games are. When I was talking about being a bit disappointed, the other two games were a tad disappointing. Livingston, Hibernian, and Dundee United, Aberdeen. But Dundee United getting a big win against Aberdeen, I suppose. But if I was Mickey Mellon, I would be so frustrated now that the first kind of post of the season's over. Those 33 games, they were in and about sixth place for so long. It looked to be
finished a point off it.
I know. I mean, it just must be so annoying, because you see his team beating Aberdeen and knowing all those stupid points are thrown away across the course of the season. For me, I've been speaking so highly of Dundee United and Mickey Mellon all season. I really like Mickey Mellon. But I would be so frustrated at the fact that they didn't get that top six. Look, I think you'll be they're just off the back of promotion. You know, this was that you've got to remember that coming into this league. Coming into the league and then being a point off sixth place. That's fantastic. But I think there will be that slight part of him that will be kicking himself. I certainly would be anyway, knowing that the sixth place could have been. It should have really been home and dry. Livingston came out of nowhere, overtook them. I just feel like Dundee United had that for so long, and it
took about 4 or 5 months for Shankland to hit form. So I mean, there's not enough. For Mickey Mellon, you're absolutely kicking yourself if Lawrence Shankland isn't scoring, and he wasn't for large parts. Only in the last month or two as he started finding the net with a bit more, regularity. But yeah, I get what you mean. But again.
No, you can't. Look, at the end of the day, you can't be disappointed, I suppose, when you look at the grand.
But speaking of fans who are disappointed, and it's Aberdeen fans, another turgid display by the Dons. They can't score goals. What is the statistic I heard?
I think it's 1 goal in like 10 games.
Something scandalous like that. It is ridiculous, really. And it's no wonder that Aberdeen fans were crying for change. They're going to get that change. We'll come on to that in a minute or two. But yeah, a good result for United. And Hibs Levy at a 1-1 draw. Deutsch at the scoring again. Am I right? Deutsch score?
I think he did.
He did score, yeah. Right. But I mean, Livy, again, it's weird because see if you look at some of the Livy fans I've seen on Twitter, there's been a few of them have been moaning recently. Like Livingston fans have been complaining about the form and stuff. But what did they finish? Fifth place. For Livingston, unbelievable. And a cup
place,
final.
and very believable that they could finish above Aberdeen with the way they're playing.
Yeah, it's frightening, isn't it?
Anything you want to add to that, Div, about any of those two games? Dundee United, Aberdeen, Livingston. Hibernian.
You froze for me a wee bit there, to be quite honest. I missed a wee bit of that, but just maybe to touch on Dundee United, I think, which potentially just got them out of the top six was in midfield. I don't know if they were strong enough in the midfield, and we talked about Shankland just starting to hit form in the last month or so. A lot of that was he wasn't getting a lot of opportunities, was he? To be quite honest, and it's only really in the last month or so that he started to get them, and he's looked a better player. So if they can get some additions in the midfield, I'm interested to see how they do next season as well. Yeah,
absolutely. So I mean, Livy, top six and a cup final, unbelievable season for Livingston, and it's kind of been a season of overachievers. You've got so many of them in that. I mean, Livy, St Johnstone, St Mirren have all kind of overachieved, but based on what you'd expect from them.
I don't want to look back on I don't want to look back on my predictions for the start of the season because we all know the main one. But I want to see how I kind of gauge the kind of the top and bottom half to see if I manage to get as many as I usually do right. Because I think in January I was basically spot on, apart from like Celtic and Rangers and maybe a couple other. I was spot on with the placements. So I said in the bottom half, very briefly, very quickly. Bottom half, I said would be Ross County, Hamilton, St Johnstone, St Mirren, Kilmarnock, and Livingston. So I couldn't have been I'm quite far off there. The top half, I put Dundee United, Aberdeen, Motherwell, Hibs, Rangers, and Celtic. The order of my league table. Come now.
See, you actually didn't get that many right. You've kind of bigged yourself up there for nothing.
No, that's what I'm saying. I've done poor now at this point. In January I was doing well, but now I am. Now I'm
no prizes handed out in January, right? You know?
Like your St Johnstone is in Livingston took so long to get going. So for large spells, I think I said St Johnstone in 11th.
Aye, I didn't have any faith in them
for
whatsoever.
A good while, they were there or thereabouts. They weren't picking up results, but then they just took off. So it's been very good.
Yeah, let's quickly run through the Championship League 1 and 2, the results. I think I'll do a Championship League with Adam to cover a little bit more.
Yeah, you see, since you started doing these Championship shows, you've got awful comfortable with the old hosting gig, mate.
You know.
I'm joking.
I thought we were equals here, no?
No, of course we are. Of course we are. It's just I feel like that you talk a lot more sense than I do.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the most sense you've spoken about.
So usually the host gets away with not having to speak. But no, go on. I'm joking.
Well, we always do this when you run through the Championship in League 1 and League 2 and you end up making a cock up. So I kind of feel if I take it off you, we're more likely to avoid silly mistakes. You not agree?
Well, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the reason that I'm not the host is because I don't have my results up just yet. I've got them now. So, oh no! I put Championship fixtures in Google and the fucking English Championship.
English Championships came up. See, this is this is a guy who prides himself on being the Mr. Championship.
Right.
I can't even get it right.
Yeah, right, cool, let's do it. Right, we'll start off Alloa Dundee on Friday night. First Friday night game I haven't watched in a while, but Lee Ashcroft scored 2 at the Dundee's 3, and it's one of those where Dundee, with the squad they've got, again, I can't understand how they're not consolidating second. They're still in the hunt with Dunfermline and Wraith, but yeah, good result for them. Arbroath and Hearts 0-0. Again, another result shows why Hearts are so average. They are the most average Championship winning team. No, I'm joking, but Adam will kill me for that. But listen, they're going to need a big summer, Dev, to get top 6. Certainly, if you look at the way Dundee United haven't quite managed it, Hearts are going to maybe get a shock winning the top flight next year.
I think they've maybe just threw money at good players, and it's just enough to get them up. They went on a run, didn't they, where they go 8 or 9 wins in a row or something like that.
For them, yeah.
And that won the league for them. But I can't remember. I've obviously seen just a few Hearts games, but when I watched them the first game versus Dundee, I thought they looked good. Obviously a bit shaky at the back, but have they even hit the heights since then? Have they hit the heights they did against Hibs in the Scottish Cup or Celtic in the Scottish Cup final? I don't think they have.
No.
It's almost like they're just going through the gears. So
what's hampering Robbie Nielsen too? What's hampering him is, if you remember the last time they won the Championship when they won the league, when Rangers and Hibs were down there, they were frighteningly good to watch. They scored goals, they hit clean sheets, they were brilliant.
It was a different approach though as well, wasn't it? The team selections.
Even that opening day against Dundee, I remember saying at the time, Dundee were hopeless at the back that night. I mean, I've seen Hearts. Listen, the family have been hopeless recently, and lots of Dunfermline fans are moaning about how we're doing. But we've played Hearts twice this season. Neither time have I thought they were a good side. And we beat them at home. They probably had more chances, but you'd expect that with the players, the budget they've got. They beat us 1-0 at Tynecastle thanks to Craig Gordon. It's just like, you take Craig Gordon and Liam Boyce. You take Craig Gordon and Liam Boyce at that team. I'm not convinced they'd be that far ahead at all, to be honest. Yeah, and the Championship is mad because it's so tight, right? But see, if you look at the fans, the teams in the Championship, there's like nobody happy apart from maybe Arbroath fans, Queen of the South, maybe. No one's happy because it's so congested. Everyone's regularly dropping points that you can't please anyone. You look at, I mean, Great Morton, great result against Queens at the weekend, 2-1. But even then, Morton have been in turmoil all season long. Queens have bounced back, but again, still a wee bit shaky at times. Dunfermline, who are still joint second place. Dunfermline fans are now raging. Inverness have had a tough time grew into it recently, but yeah, it's a mad one. Neil McCann at Inverness is doing a good job. You'll know it, Dev, from his punditry on Rangers TV. He certainly talks a good game, Neil McCann, and he's finally getting some results. I'll just round this up because we've loads to cover. And against Wraith 1-1, David Cockman get a couple of good results there. But the Championship, look at the league table, just to quickly look at that. It's so unbelievably tight. Wraith in second on 30 points, and then there's only 8 points between 9th and 2nd. 8th and 2nd, there's only 5 points, which is just absolutely frightening. Any of 6 teams go and win 2-3 in the bounce now, they're going to fancy themselves in the playoffs. It's frightening. And you talk about an exciting running. that league's going to be absolutely fascinating. Ryan, you want to run us through League One?
Yeah, League One. I was going to quickly come on to that there. I think Partick Thistle fans are getting their knickers in a bit of a twist, aren't they? You know,
I love laughing at Partick Thistle.
Things are not going according to plan.
Super Joe scored though
this season. Yep, he did. Partick Thistle, of course, drew 1-1 with Cove Rangers, who have been championing since the start of Cove. I've had a lot of faith in them, so it's never going to be easy. Falkirk winning 2-0 against Montrose. David, I'm sure you'll be saddened to see that they are still flying away at the top of the table. Clyde and East Fife, that ended 3-1 East Fife. Peterhead winning 1-0 against a 10-man at Airdrie, and Dumbarton. They lost 1-0 to Forfar.
Excuse me,
Everybody
sir.
just wants to know for you, Ryan, are Airdrie going down, mate?
Mate, well, I tell you what, right? They're only 7 clear. It could still happen.
Excuse me, sir. Can I talk to you about Airdrie's red card?
Yes, go on.
I don't know if you noticed what happened with that wee story, right? So Kyle Turner, Dunfermline player,
Oh,
player of the month for November of the championship.
That's right.
Player of the month for November of the championship, flying, tip with big moves and all the rest of it. Was brilliant. What a player. Really coming into his own.
Yep.
He then gets dropped in January and nobody really knows why. And then he makes one appearance off the bench since. Now, he's been offered a contract, didn't want to sign it. Obviously, there's more to it than that. He's obviously fallen out with Crawford. Stevie Crawford lets him go on loan to Airdrie. We bought a player from Airdrie who was supposed to go back on loan, but we're now keeping him permanently. Kyle Turner goes to Airdrie 4 minutes in his debut. Kyle Turner sent off. It was fucking hilarious, to be honest. I was like, Kyle Turner gets sent off for Airdrie. That's obviously how he felt at being sent to Airdrie. You can't blame him, quite frankly. But yeah, that was a nice wee story. But yeah, League One. They've only played 12 games League One this season.
Yeah,
and
it's
we're
so
in
weird.
fucking March.
It's so weird. So how are they actually working that?
They're just playing Saturday, Tuesday, I think, pretty much for the foreseeable.
You've
also
got
got the
games
cup.
are you going to play up to, David?
20.
Yes, something like that.
22. I've seen that number floating about.
They've also it was a nightmare of them trying to figure out who was going to play because there's obviously an imbalance now with home and away fixtures. But you know what? It's mad because obviously over the last year we've had to make do with what we could do with football. And it's good to have them back playing. I mean, for all I laugh at Thistle Falkirk are two big clubs. They've got big supports. They've had nothing to do for the last 2 months. So
yep.
You know, fair play.
League Two will head over there in Queen's Park. They're
Luke O'Connell, mate.
They're still flying. Luke O'Connell on loan there now. Very excited to see what he can do. He was man of the match on his debut. On loan to the Spiders, a 3-0 win against a 10-man Stranraer, which keeps them.
I think that was our last game at Hampden.
The table.
That was the last game at Hampden. They're out less at Hampden from now. So yeah.
So Queen's Park winning 3-0 there. Across the league as well, Edinburgh City getting a win against Elgin. Quite a big win considering Elgin have been decent enough this season. Annan 0, Cowdenbeath 0, Stennismuir 2, Albion Rovers 0, and Stirling Albion 1, Poor Old Brecon 0.
Right, so there's one more wee lower league story I want to sprinkle in here. Don't know if you'll have seen it. Did you see the goal?
The own
goal.
In the
Dumbarton game.
What?
It's just frightening.
It's like pro clubs. I have done that in pro clubs.
I just can't. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Whose fault is that? Is it goalie in it?
I know.
It's the goalie's fault, aye.
But the centre half.
turned his back.
Shoot, I'd blame the centre half. Personally.
Mate, I remember in primary school that same thing happened to me with the goalie. You know how back in the day, but when the goalie couldn't take the goal kick, so you had to get an outfield player to hit it.
Oh, mate, I did that all throughout my school career.
Your striker came back to take it, whacked it off of me. I've got my fucking back to him, and their striker runs through and scores. And I get
what the fuck's a striker doing?
I know why the striker of all people,
because it's primary school football, innit? He's obviously got the best welly on him.
That just sums up why Scotland fails to produce top talent.
Exactly,
I blame the centre half for that personally. Like you should be move out the road, man. Give him some space. The keeper's building his run up. He's got the ball. He's getting a wee jiggy.
Exactly. The keeper can see everything in front of him.
The keeper never got enough boost, mate.
True. No, true. Anyway, right, that's covered all of the league fixtures of the past weekend. I'm looking forward to another weekend of it. In about 3 weekends' time. But when is the next set of games now? Well, obviously, League 1 and League 2 will still be going on.
And so does the Championship.
The Championship as well.
Scottish Cup tonight too.
Oh, aye. Okay.
Expand your palate.
Flying in thick and fast. Right, okay, let's move on. We're wasting too much time. So let's come on to the international break. Hey, we'll come on to that before we talk about the final issue of today, which is going to be probably have to be shoehorned in somehow. So we'll get Scotland out the road because there's quite a bit to talk about Scotland, of course, taking on Austria in the first World Cup qualifier on Thursday night. But before we speak about that, let's talk about the squad selection itself. David, you were very happy when you seen the squad released this past week.
Happy, yeah.
Relatively happy.
Yeah.
Kevin Nisbet's in. Che Adams is there.
Yeah, so I'm happy with that.
A couple of faces that I think we'd rather have seen in there, but overall, just very briefly, your thoughts on
You're replacing Callum Patterson and Ollie Burke with Nisbet and Che Adams, so there's not a person alive who's not happy with that swap. Very, very good. Now gives us some competition at the top end of the park, which is refreshing to see. Yeah, the squad was fine. Listen, it was. I don't think
fine. Have some fucking optimism.
No, it was good. It was very good. But hold on, I'm getting slagged off for being happy with the squad on Twitter. It was good, but I think anyone who was expecting wholesale changes was very naive. Steve Clarke was not going to make wholesale changes to the squad. I'm very pleasantly surprised Nisbet's in the squad. You know, the Adams news broke, so that was good. David Turnbull is obviously the big omission. I want to clear something up. I would love David Turnbull to be in the Scotland squad. I think, you know, he deserves a chance. He now will almost definitely not play at the Euros because he's not going to chuck him in just for that, unless there's injuries, I wouldn't have thought. Ryan Jack obviously was put in the squad, but they knew fine well that he was touch and go. He's now left the squad. Now, there is not a hope in hell that David Turnbull will come into that squad to replace Ryan Jack. It makes no sense for that to happen.
I don't think he will. No, I don't.
No, but why would he? They play different positions. The reason David Turnbull is in the squad, Clarke is addressed.
That's why I didn't get the whole argument. See, I think Turnbull should be in the squad myself.
Yeah,
just
so
getting that out there, right? But I didn't get the whole argument about Fleck and Turnbull because they're two different players, two different types of players.
But my argument with that is that John Fleck's not going to play though. I mean, unless his mad injuries, John Fleck is not.
That's why I thought
Turnbull should be in over Fleck for Ryan Jack.
Maybe, but
I wouldn't say so. I think
he's a six, though.
I think you'd see the likes of McTominay move in and play.
I think
that completely unsettles your defence.
But then I think if you listen to what Clarke said, he's talked about putting McTominay further forward anyway. He's hinted at that a lot recently, and with his form at club level, it's kind of hard not to. I disagree. I would keep McTominay at the back.
I'd keep him at the back, mate.
I'd like to keep him at the back. Anything to keep Jack Hendry out of the team in my eyes.
I don't think he will though. I don't think he trusts a Fleck or a McLean to come in for Jack. I think he'll just push McTominay up. I think if you're going to see
anybody trust McLean, then get McLean out and bring.
I know. I feel like McLean should be maybe given a bit of a chance. I think he should have a bit of faith in McLean. I've always had this kind of thing that I like Kenny McLean. I don't know why.
No,
because you're a Rangers fan.
Oh, of course, aye. That's the reason.
But if anybody is going to get called up for Ryan Jack, it's not going to be Billy Gilmore and it's not going to be David Turnbull. It'll be Ross McCrory because he was called up last time when there was an injury in that position. I think he's probably away with the 21's away just now.
Yes,
he will be in that squad, and he was called anyway. McCrory was called up last time there was an injury in that position, and if it's going to be anyone, it'll be him. I don't think anyone will because I think they knew Jack was touch and go, so I think they'll have planned for that in advance. But yeah, the team selection is going to be so interesting. I would keep McTominay at the back. I don't think he will though. I think McTominay will play beside Cal McGregor and John McGinn in the middle. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
I like the changes up front, the same as you, David, but I just don't like the excuse that the manager was giving about the one for the future and all that. For me, especially Turnbull, come on. He's been Celtic's best player. I mean, who's his competition in the Scotland squad? Christie? I know he's done well for Scotland and he trusts him and all that, but you've
got Armstrong there as well. The way I look at it, right, is if you're going to play 3-5-2 like Scotland have been playing, the position that David Turnbull is trying to get is the Ryan Christie position behind Lyndon Dykes. Now, you've got Ryan Christie, you've got Ryan Fraser who's played that position, you've got Stuart Armstrong, and you've also got John McGinn who can play further forward. So you've got four there who are arguably, listen, I know at club level Turnbull's outshined Christie recently, but there's not a hope in hell that Ryan Christie will be dropped for Scotland. He's just too valuable to what the team do. So it is tough for him to get in. But I've always said, and I'm not going to change this, is young players need to be assimilated into that squad. Give them a chance. See what they like when they travel, what they like in training. So when he does get the call up, he's not going, oh my God, this has been away with Scotland. I've never done it before. You know, you need to blood these players in. It's the thing that's held us back for so long. Wales do it brilliantly. Like Ethan Ampadu, Ben Woodburn. There's been so many of these young guys that have come up and excelled for Wales that we haven't done that. So yeah, it's frustrating. But again, did anyone really expect anything different from Steve Clarke? He is what he is. I thought it was going to happen as much as I would like to.
I think I pretty much got what I thought was coming. I wasn't 100% certain that Turnbull would go. And now,
I didn't think Nisbet would go. So
I'm disappointed to see Turnbull's not going, but I'm certainly not let down in a sense because I didn't expect it to take him. I know exactly, as you've already said, I know what Clark's going to play. Turnbull.
Also, Stuart Armstrong can't get a game for Scotland.
This is why I had the argument on Twitter that I think Turnbull should be there over the likes of John Fleck. None of them are going to play any football. So that's why I'd rather Turnbull there, because of that experience that you're talking about. None of them would play anything. I think.
Well, I don't know. We're playing the Pharaohs, so maybe you'll see.
Well, maybe, perhaps, but I just feel like nothing will come from it. People are going, "Oh, Turnbull can't play 90 minutes. Why would they go?" But he's not going to fucking play 90 anyway for Scotland. They'd be lucky if he got 10 minutes.
But that's the thing. If Stuart Armstrong can't get a game for Scotland, David Turnbull's not getting a game for Scotland.
Yes, exactly. So it's just one of those ones.
David, you'll be a better player, but in 2 years.
Who are you talking about? Armstrong or Turnbull here? Is that how you're talking about?
Well, I get your point, but normally for Scotland, 2 years' time, we've got nothing in between. We've got European Championships in summer, and Stuart Armstrong is playing very well at club level, and I would rather him.
I just don't want us to make the same mistakes as you already touched on.
I completely agree. And listen,
get these young
we're all
players
united on that they should be in the squad. This is kind of trying to understand Clark.
I think it's the reasoning behind it that's more up for discussion rather than the decision itself. Anyway, we'll talk about Austria. Austria, who had a bit of a situation heading into this game. They didn't know if they were able to take the German-based players with them on the duty, but they now are allowed. So we are seeing the likes of Marcel Sabitzer, David Alaba.
Oh, here he goes with the German pronunciation.
We're seeing all these players who are going to be playing for Austria in a game that's going to make it difficult. They are the best seeded team in the group. They are ultimately a very good team. They are missing a couple of key players right enough, and they're being forced to play. I've been doing my research this morning to see what's going to be happening. But it's going to be an interesting game. I'm excited for it, and I think it's a game that, on paper, every year, we spoke about this last night, David, every year you would look at the game against the top-seeded team at Hampden as one that you would happily take a point in. But this is one I feel like we can push for the win.
I don't think Austria are the top-seeded. I think Denmark are the top-seeded team.
Oh, is it? Oh, Denmark's in the group.
But here's
right.
the thing. They're kind of touch and go.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think the rankings, I think Austria are probably a better team. My thing with this is, I feel like everyone's forgetting this is a World Cup qualifier.
Yep, I know.
I feel like everybody's just looking at this as prep for the Euros.
Yep.
This is so important. Like, for all that we've enjoyed getting to European Championships, it's not going to be half the buzz that it will be if we get to a World Cup. That is just the pinnacle. So it is absolutely massive, and it's why I didn't think Clark was going to experiment in these games, because he can't afford to. The only game he can afford to do it against is the Pharaohs, and that's the only one that you might see Nisbet and Adams both starting that game. You might see McLean, but this is so huge on Thursday night, and it's going to be tough. That you look at the group on paper and you think, right, we've got to qualify from that, and it's the typical Scottish fan mentality that we're going to expect us to qualify.
You've got it, very quickly, just for the as I'm saying, I think that we could challenge them for a win, but very quickly I would just like to add that this is a team that up front are playing Kalajic, who's scored 7 of his last 8 games for Stuttgart, the Bundesliga. 7 of his last 8, very good player, and obviously it's a very. People underestimate these players because they're not household names, but it's still a very good talent. You've got in behind him Marcel Sabitzer, as we spoke about, David Alaba, who'll most likely play on the left wing for Austria in this game. That's what he's been doing for the last couple of years in an Austria shirt. It's difficult. That's a
Stephen
very
O'Donnell.
good. I know. Look, you've got Stephen O'Donnell up against David Alaba. We have to. I think in a sense, David, or David, I'll come to you here, David. There's a sort of, you've got to manage your expectations against what we've seen over the past few months, because we've got to the Euros, that gets people excited. But this is still a very strong side.
I'm hoping it's not a big reality check. It's going to be a very tough game, though, isn't it? The names that you just went through there, and these teams are always just so organised. Like, see, when we came up against the Czech Republic team, how good were they? Even though you didn't really know much of the players. So this is going to be a really, really difficult game. The fact that they're still able to bring other German-based players as well makes it even tougher. It's going to be really difficult, but here's hoping that Scotland can go out there and do well, because we've got good players as well. For all the names that you've mentioned, we've got some really, really top players as well,
people playing at
that aren't necessarily household names that some people might look at and think, maybe no, maybe John McGinn is a bit underrated still to some people that maybe haven't seen him in the Premier League. So we've got big players as well. So I'm hoping it's our big players that step up. And maybe Che Adams is the answer that we've been looking for a long time in partnership with Lyndon Dykes up there. That could be very sexy.
David, you're not so certain that Adams will start the game against.
Don't necessarily start, but
he certainly makes an impact.
You look at the game against Serbia, right? We took off Lyndon Dykes and replaced him with McBurney, or was it Patterson? You know, the drop-off is fucking huge there. Yep. It's not going to be a huge drop-off anymore.
Just as well Dykes started scoring at the weekend,
See, when Dykes played with Fraser, though, like a couple months before, that partnership was brilliant in the pace that Fraser had. Che Adams has got a bit of pace as well, but he's a striker. Like, he's a proper striker, so I don't think he's going to roam as much. I just think that's a partnership that excites me going forward. Even Fraser coming back in, but obviously he's not played a lot of football and stuff, so it's good. It's good.
It's good. I can't wait.
So,
and this bit as well.
What if throw in?
He's wait a bit, big Hingy-majiggy's in there.
Big Hingy-majiggy. Look, very quickly before we end off the conversation on the international break. Well, we'll probably have to talk about more next week, so you're certainly nowhere near done. But if you were to give a wee quick score prediction, David, do you think we're going to see Scotland open up the World Cup qualifiers with a bang, or do you think it's a reality check, is the phrase?
I mean, I'm just feeling so optimistic. I think we'll win. There you go.
We'll win.
I don't think it'll be pretty. I think Austria will dominate the ball, probably the chances. I think we'll win 1-0. There you go.
Okay. Dev?
I don't think we score a lot, don't concede a lot. I'll take a draw on this, to be quite honest, because if a top side, it's a good start. I think it's going to be 1-1.
I am... oh, my camera's away again. I am not so optimistic now that you see the team that they can field. When you look at the 11 that's potentially going to start the game for Austria, there's names all over that park are very good. And Scotland, we've not scored more than 1 goal in a game since 2019. So
we haven't needed to, though.
But yes, let me finish. It all comes down to how we defend in this game. And they've got very good players. I think Alama's going to cause a lot of bother on that left-hand side. I'm going 1-0 Austria. I'm sorry, I'm not as patriotic. I have a slight feeling this is going to be a tough watch for us all. I think Austria have got a good enough side to get past us. Obviously, I'll cheer us on. I'll cheer us on. I want us to win. If we do win, I'll be happy. But I just have a slight feeling that it's going to be a poor start for Scotland, and we'll have to...
But you're talking about these names that they've got, right?
No, I'm not saying that we don't have names, but they've got a very good team. I'm not saying
we've talked about how good the Scotland squad is.
Yeah, of course.
Like
Andy
Robertson,
you look over Scotland's team, and you've got McTominay, who's been absolutely stupendous for Manchester United recently. You've got Kieran Tierney, who's been amazing. Robertson, one of the best fullbacks in Europe. John McGinn, Callum McGregor. You look at all these names, and then you've got now Che Adams in the squad. This is a very good team, of course it is. But I just look at Austria's team alongside that, and I also see a very good team, a better team than Serbia, a better team than anybody we've faced over the past year.
I'm not sure about that.
Yes, they're a better team than Serbia. I would say. I would say they're a better team than Serbia. Maybe I think defensively Serbia look a bit better, but the attacking contingent.
You see Mitrovic's record for Serbia.
You see,
I think we just need a partnership to click up front, man. And I think we'll be
I have a feeling that back three could struggle with Alaba on the left, Schläger on the right, and as I said, Kalajic up front. I think it's going to be a struggle. Then you've got Sabitzer in behind as well.
Who do we think the back three is going to be then? Is it going to be is Gallagher going to play?
I think it's going to be Tierney, Gallagher, McTominay.
Gallagher, Tierney, and it'll either be McTominay or I think it'll either be McTominay or
you fucking tell me right now you'd be confident with Hendry in the back.
I'm not. Listen, did I just say that I wanted to be Jack Hendry? I did not say
but like you tell me to be confident though with Hendry in the back.
Well, but then you all want fucking Stephen Welsh called up, and you.
But I've not said that once. I was on your side.
But listen, Jack Hendry's been called up for a reason. He plays right at the back three for his club. I think McTominay will play midfield if Ryan Jack's injured. So. Then I wouldn't want Declan Gallagher playing right at the three because he's too slow.
Gallagher's got to be in the middle. Tierney's got to be in the left. McTominay's got to be in the right. That is how it's got to be, and I hope that is how it goes.
Who plays in the middle?
Who plays in the middle then?
What, the middle of the back three?
No.
McGregor.
Sorry. Who's Ryan Jack's replacement?
McGinn, McGregor.
Can't play McGregor and Armstrong.
It's a tough one.
Just kind of changes the balance up by bringing Armstrong in. No,
exactly. They're three attack-minded players.
Well, that's the thing. You see that McGinn can play defensively. He's done it for Villa.
No,
he can play defensively.
John McGinn cannot play.
He's better going forward. He's better going forward, but he can still be a ball, but not defensively. Not as defensive as say Ryan Jack. But you've seen him do it for Aston Villa so much this season, where he's came and dropped a bit deeper, been that ball-winning midfielder, and done a lot of the cleaning up work because he's not been able to push up as high against better opposition. And Villa have got results by doing that.
John McGinn has turned into Scotland's talisman outfield.
Yes, I know. I'm not saying he should do that, but I'm saying he's certainly got the capabilities. That good a player he can. He's got the defensive attributes to his game. They're not non-existent. He can do it. I'm not
just bring Billy Gilmore in, fling him in there, and just watch him flourish.
Just shove John Fleck in. I've just shoved John Fleck in. Look, I'm going to go. I'm just going 1-0 Austria. I just have a dark feeling about it now that I just look in, and I was very confident before they were allowed to take those Bundesliga players over, and now I'm just like, tough gig now.
Well, there goes the excitement and optimism. We're going to stream for it as well, aren't we, Ryan? We're going to do a wee
we'll do a wee watch along and see how things go. As I sit there with my Bundesliga flag waving high and wide, just cheering them on. Come on, the Austrians. Joking.
Austria were playing, not Germany, mate.
Right, calm down. He's right a bad mood now because I predicted Austria to win. Peace you.
Freeman. Right, let's move on.
Right, okay.
Scott Brown.
Get that clip. Scott Brown, So apparently he's off. Apparently it's only a matter of time now before the official announcement is made that Declan Glass will be made.
Declan Glass.
Stop
telling everybody your middle name,
Stephen Glass. Before Stephen Glass is made Aberdeen manager, and Scott Brown will apparently be his assistant. He'll be number 2, and he will be leaving Celtic after nearly 15 years of service to the club.
Aberdeen fans are fucking terrified. By the way.
I am so fucking sad. So sad.
But also, fair play to Scott Brown, because see, if I was him, I'd be taking the first offer for an Australian team, fucking off, drinking a pina colada and candling it for a couple of years before tackling manager and coach stuff.
What team is it wanted in my game? Was it Adelaide?
Nah, something like that.
Yeah,
so I moved to any of them, man.
I mean, a nice sitting on the coast of Australia on the golden beaches. Oh, what
something not right with him, but anyway, Aberdeen. He's chose Aberdeen.
I suppose you've got more rockier beaches up in Aberdeen. But look, it's a kind of it's an announcement that has been in the rumour mill for a few weeks now, and it's something that Celtic fans have been kind of ready for. But I think now that it's happening, we've seen this outpouring of emotion now on social media that shows that how much Scott Brown means to the club, and has the kind of the implications of him leaving are massive. There's so much. There's positives. There's negatives. I, for one, will be talking a lot more about this today on the Celtic The Thunder, so I'm not going to go too much in depth about it. But I am going to say my final words before letting you speak and saying, "He's a fucking legend. I love him, and I don't want it to go.
I want a bag of cans.
I want a bag of cans. I want Scott Brown back and all." But I'll let David on you go, mate.
Well, I don't think there's any positives for this for Celtic. It's an absolute disaster.
There is positives. There is definitely positives.
There definitely isn't.
There is positives. There is. I'm more on your side. I will agree with you, but there is certainly positives about him going.
He should have 100% be staying next season with all the turmoil and all the change Celtic are going to have. The board should have made sure you had a year extension. You've got a new manager coming in, new CEO. New chief exec, new director of football. Everything's changing, plus a massive overhaul of the playing squad. Scott Brown should not be playing every game for Celtic just now. That's something that everyone with an eye can see that. And the right manager who comes in next season will not play him in every game. But to lose that influence in the dressing room, to lose that influence at the club, and just another player you have to replace in this big overhaul, it's a nightmare. And it's just it sums up the lack of planning upstairs at Celtic.
I agree. I completely agree with you. I believe that there is a big overwhelming negative there that a lot of people are just going to kind of.
But is the positive that you're alluding to the fact they are playing?
Well, the positive is that for so long Celtic fans have wanted rid of Brown out the team and have wanted culture change. And
I mean, you can have him out the team and still have him in the team.
I agree. I completely agree. I completely agree, David. I think that when I'm going to be having this debate with Ryan McGinley about it later on, I'm certainly going to be more on your side. But there certainly has to be an acceptance that this is a culture change. This rebuild was never going to be easy nonetheless. So perhaps moving them on does stop us from going back and reverting to the same old problems that we continuously see.
It's going to take an absolute, almost a miracle now for Celtic to have a title winning team next season. I don't care what anyone says, because you've got to change everything. It's hard enough changing 4 or 5 players. Never mind changing the whole club from top to bottom and then expect to immediately have a winning team to challenge Rangers, who have kind of got it all nailed just now. They're going to just go from strength to strength. For Celtic to get to that level, having changed everything, is going to be so difficult. And that's why, for me, just the simple continuity of having Scott Brown there would have made a world of difference. But hey, I want to talk about this from an Aberdeen's point of view, because obviously it's easy.
I'm not going to let Dev talk it from a Rangers fan's point there.
No, I'm devastated he's leaving, to be honest.
See what I mean? That's where the positive comes in.
I just find it mental where he's going in Aberdeen, and I don't. What's the link between him and Stephen Glass? Then he
I don't know.
Did they? Okay. But that was
15 years ago.
In another lifetime, wasn't it? I don't know. It's just it's a mad one.
The Stephen Glass thing is mad, and it's absolutely wild. And listen, the reason why I talk about it from an Aberdeen point of view is because literally the headline last night about a story announcing Aberdeen's new management team was about Celtic, and I'm just like, fucking Aberdeen are a huge club. This is massive. Stephen Glass obviously has been rumoured as the favourite for ages. Aberdeen fans are very cynical. There's obviously the Atlanta United link there. It feels a little bit like the easy choice. It's, jobs for the boys kind of thing. He's obviously a talented young coach, no denying that, but he's now taken in as his assistant. This is what I find bizarre. His assistant manager is going to be an unproven coach who's not had a coaching job at a team. I know he's done some work with the youth. If you're a young manager, your assistant needs to be a guy who's got a bit of experience.
No, I don't think there's no unwritten rule that needs to be. I don't think.
Well,
I think we've seen plenty of examples in recent. I think that's one of the problems. I completely disagree with you. I completely disagree. I think that's one of the problems that we've got in this country of staying backwards in football. I think there's been plenty of examples in recent times of younger managers who are doing well. No, not so much. Are we just going to keep Scottish football forever in the past? Like down in England and across Europe.
You just said there's loads of examples. Give me an example
across Europe and in England. There has been plenty of examples of young setups that have done really well. I think that is benefited. Look at the rise of people like Graham Potter, Dan Cowley, and all these managers down in England.
Who's Graham Potter's coaching team? His backing up team.
It's certainly not a 70-year-old guy.
Older guy. Well, I mean, Billy Reid's in there. He's in his 50, Billy 60.
No, but like Oosterson's and such. I mean, like this managers are coming through.
But I don't mean irrelevant comparison because Aberdeen have got such.
I think that there's nothing wrong with having a younger guy there with you, or someone who is coming up. I think there's certainly a way of moving forward now rather than looking back. That's certainly got to be there in football. I get where you're coming from, but I don't think that there has to be.
Giving a young manager the job.
I don't think that there has to be something there that says they must be somebody older. I think they can succeed with Glass and Brown.
Right, okay, so you're going to have an unproven manager in this league who's only managed a B team in America.
Scott Brown has been an instrumental part to Celtic's success.
That's got absolutely nothing to do with how you are as a coach.
And he's been captaining, he's been doing stuff with.
Yes, how many amazing players have you seen that have been rubbish managers?
Are you saying he's incapable?
Of course, he's got the potential to be a good coach, but being a top player and a world-class player is nothing to do with being a top manager.
No, of course not. I'm not.
Look at Vincent Kompany going to Anderlecht. Look at how that worked out.
But there's plenty of examples.
Thierry Henry, Monaco.
Look at Steven Gerrard going to Rangers.
Right, okay, fine. But you want to compare this to?
I think the difference is there, Ryan, is maybe what David's saying is that because Brown's not really had that coaching experience.
No,
yet.
I know.
Even if it is a limited 1 or 2 years, you just never know. It could work.
It could pay off.
We don't know how good.
Exactly.
We don't know how good Stephen Glass is. He might be brilliant, but
I think there's a right to be sceptical around it. Absolutely, but
I think
to write off Brown would be poor.
Is he just going as an assistant manager, or is he going to still play? Is he still going to play?
Apparently, he's still going to play, isn't he?
That is fucking nuts.
Exactly. So you've got a guy who's still going to be playing every week as your number 2, who's never had a coaching job.
Well, I don't think he'll play every week, really. Surely
I think
not
he'll play
every week.
How do you feel that you're going to see him in that Aberdeen?
Oh, no, that's not right. I thought about that. I don't think he'll play every week, though. When you look at a team there just now that have got Lewis Ferguson and McCrory and I just don't think he'll be in that team every single week. Of course, he'll be of use to it. I'm sure he will play from time to time, but
it's like do all these top players stay at Aberdeen now as well because a lot of them are there
the point I was going to make.
Derek McInnes.
You've got an unproven manager. You've got a guy who's never coached as your assistant who's also going to be playing. You're also going to have an overhaul in the squad in the summer, and you're telling me they don't need an experienced face in the coaching.
Now, how much of an overhaul? How much of an overhaul?
Right, they don't score any goals.
How much?
No strikers permanently there.
Well, that's not. That's something that Brown and Glass will come in.
Brown can score goals.
Brown will score goals.
Brown and Glass will come in. Who's on loan, who's leaving, who hasn't scored goals anyway. They've got.
But surely that's where Dave Cormack gets the faith in this coaching team.
They're also skint. Have you not listened to everything that's come out of Aberdeen for the last year?
No, I'm not. I'm talking about the players they've got just now. I mean, you tell me that Dave Cormack has no faith whatsoever in Brown or Glass, or that we should have no faith whatsoever in them coming in and getting them to score goals because it's not just.
But they're not going to be there. They're all loanees, is what I'm telling you. They're not going to be there. They need to get
down. They'll have Bruce Anderson. They'll have Bruce Anderson coming back, and they'll be fucking happy with it, right? So calm down.
You can't. Listen,
get James Wilson back up the road.
Also, and you saying I wrote off Scott Brown. I did not. He could quite possibly be a great coach, but to have a guy who's still playing as your number 2, who's never had a coaching job, in a new club with a guy who's never had a big manager's job.
We'll see when the preparation for the season happens. I think it's a bit. I mean, it's not even.
Aberdeen fans how they're feeling about it.
No, I can understand. I'm good friends with an Aberdeen man, and I think he's in the same kind of boat. But I don't know. I feel like Scott Brown's got his know-how around the game. I feel like he's destined to have a good coaching career, and that's not just because he's a good player. Well, things didn't happen for them for their own reasons. I think that Scott Brown has got a chance now to go into a place with much lesser of a say an expectation on him. He went at Vincent Kompany.
Nonsense.
How will he adapt to that as well?
The reason Derek McInnes failed is because of the high expectations at Aberdeen. They've been in cup finals and finished third, fourth.
I think to compare Kompany being the actual manager of a Belgian Champions League side, Anderlecht, and then Thierry Henry with one of the top sides in the Ligue 1 of France, to then Scott Brown being assistant, not even manager, assistant at Aberdeen.
But I'm not saying about Scott Brown will fail. I'm saying about how
very different
in there to have him as your player manager as a number 2. And you talk about we have all said about Aberdeen. The problem with Aberdeen just now is they expect every single season to be third place and winning a cup.
Well, I'm not looking at this as an Aberdeen fan, David. I'm looking at this from an outside point of view. I'm not an Aberdeen fan. This isn't coming from an Aberdeen point of view. This is coming from me looking on from the outside. I'm personally not affected by the expectations of Aberdeen fans.
I don't give a fuck if you're expecting. We're talking about Scott Brown, not you, fuck's sake. You're not the one that's in the dugout.
I think Scott Brown being my original point was, and I'm going to come back to it now because we've strayed very off from it.
Your original point was having an experienced face in the dugout is what's holding back Scottish football.
No, I'm not saying it's holding back the whole game.
Aberdeen 6 minutes ago have confirmed that Stephen Glass is the new manager.
Well, that came in at quite a nice time. So
no mention of Scott Brown as of yet.
I bet you've had this whole fucking debate. Brown's no gone. Just a lot of shite. No, I think that is something that I think if you go back and look, it's something that can be guilty of that fans aren't willing to change from, and that's what Celtic fans have been trying to escape now for the past kind of couple months, and what we've been seeing and what we want to see as our next manager. There's got to be a time in the game, I think, that we do move forward, and we move forward with the rest of the continent and such. I'm not saying
they are moving forward. They're appointing a young manager,
good,
and they're bringing in a young coach.
I think Scott. I'm quite happy to see that. My original point. I don't think we should dwell too much on the fact that they've not got a guy that's older than Stephen Glass beside him. I think that Brown can do as well of a job, and that was my original point. And we'll wait and see. Maybe one of us will be right and one of us will be wrong next season. More than likely, I'll be wrong next season, but I'm holding out to see that Scott Brown will do a decent job.
Watch this. Brown will be playing for Celtic next year.
I know, exactly. After all that. Right, look, we've really dwindled away from the point. Well, still, because we've got Twitter questions to fire through and everything.
Got a fucking quiz.
This is a 2-year show, by the way.
I know, this is. It's coming up for a 2-year show, fuck's sake. But look, I think that you make a very valid point, David. I can see where you're coming from. I think that
you not said that about 15 minutes ago.
I did try to, but you started shouting at me. You started shouting at me, mate.
You were talking about teams in fucking
he's doing
Denmark
it. David's doing it again. He's doing it again.
Telling lies.
Look, he's doing it again. He's shouting at me.
The funny thing is, the two of you are just in different rooms right now, aren't you?
He's just there, right?
It's not going to, honestly, it's got to kick off in it after this.
You got to get a notification on the Twitter. The podcast will not be uploaded tonight. Right, so David, you do your usual gig and very quickly rally through the Twitter questions.
Well, you know what? I almost think we scrapped the Twitter questions this week. Because every single one of them is about stuff we've covered.
Oh, is it?
There's one that isn't about stuff we've covered.
Well, thank you anyway to everybody who got involved on Twitter.
I'm going to need to make it clear next time that we just like...
Yep. What we're talking about. Put me bullet points in.
Don't ask about stuff that's in the news, basically.
Or we could just bullet point what we're going to talk about.
Hit me with a quiz. Let's
Right, okay. So today's quiz for Div and David is a Scottish national team themed quiz, and I'd like to thank you very quickly Matthew Duff for putting this together for us. So thank you, Matthew, who's put together this quiz. We've got set A and set B. Div, you won the last time you were on. Again, I think you've won. No, David won the time before that, but Div, you did win last time.
That's one each.
David was not happy, and since you did win, I'm going to let you pick set A or set B if you want to go first or second.
To David, because he won the last
one. Did David win the last one? It was you win the last one, Div?
No, I won the first one.
I won the last one.
No, you won the last one, sorry. So I just fucked that whole thing there, right? David, you want set A, so you want to go first.
Yeah.
Right, okay, right.
Set a benchmark, you know?
The pressure is on then. Okay, let's go. We've got a tiebreaker question as well. Matthew's thought of this very, very well. Right, okay. Question 1. Which outfield player had played the most minutes in the Nations League campaign?
Cal McGregor.
No. Wrong.
Did you pass it here?
No, you can't get it. I'll let you have a guess, but you can't get the point for it. It's a penalty shout. No.
John McGinn would have been
no, not John McGinn. The correct answer is Scott McTominay. He's the correct answer.
That's
So-
mad considering they started in the midfield and went back.
Yep. So there you go, Scott McTominay. David, you've got equally as difficult a question, unless you've been watching the highlights on repeat. Which Israel player missed their penalty in the Euro playoff semi-final? So who was the only player to miss in that entire shootout?
I know who it was. Fuck.
Dav's
question, isn't it?
Aye, that's question.
Israel, did you say?
Aye.
I'd
Oh,
have
wait,
got the,
he was-
I'd have
was
got
he the only miss?
Serbia. I'd have got Serbia.
Yeah,
but,
it was. Right. Marshall made one save. That was it.
Yeah. So he was
Fuck
one
me.
miss.
I'll help you with it. He was.
I don't
He
even-
was their star man. I'm pretty sure.
He was a star man.
Sure he plays in the Bundesliga.
Aye, this big striker.
What the fuck's his
D
name?
something. I know, what is his name? Oh, mate.
Can't remember.
Dibrabov.
Good guess. The correct answer is Aaron Zahavi.
Javi, that's it.
That's the correct answer.
Wow, that was not a good guess. By the
Right,
way, so-
okay, David, on to you. Who did Andrew Considine make his Scotland debut against?
Slovakia.
Correct. Well done. Good guess. Well done. Good guess. Good answer. I think I had to go behind that. Okay, that's a bit of an easy one, David. I'd be kind of stunned. if you
Don't do
get
that to me because I'm terrible at quizzes.
it. Right.
Who's Rangers' record goal scorer?
I got that. Yeah,
Who
right.
is Who is the only foreign manager to manage Scotland?
Oh, that's fucking easy.
Oh, what's his face? Bertie Volts.
That's the one. Correct. Bertie Votes is the answer.
There we go.
So it's 1-all.
Pablo Capello, I was going to say him, but he was
So,
a while ago, wasn't he? So
David, Kenny Dalglish has the most caps for Scotland, but who is behind him at number 2?
You prick. Gee me, that is a corker of a question. Who's the second most capped Scottish player of all time? Oh, I don't have a clue. You know, it's
Yeah, he
really
doesn't
bad.
know.
I should have a clue. Let me think.
I thought you would have known this, to be fair.
Dalglish after Dalglish.
I really would have thought you known this.
Is it obvious?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't guess him, but I thought
Is it
you would have
like-
known it.
Is it like Joe Jordan or something like that?
Is that your guess?
Yeah. Oh,
You're going for Joe Jordan.
I don't think it will be Joe Jordan.
No, the correct answer is Jim Leighton. He's your
Ah,
answer.
I should have got
Is that
that.
who you were going to go, Div? Aye?
aye.
Should have got that. So, I
Okay.
don't know why you didn't think of goalies. Goalies are a good place to start.
For the chance to take the lead here, Div, who is the most recent player to score a hat-trick for Scotland?
Easy.
See if I get this wrong. I remember one, but it was a one.
I paid
effort.
35 quid to watch that one that night.
John McGinn.
John McGinn's correct. There was a hat-trick against San Marino in October of 2019.
2-1 Div. Oof.
Right, okay.
Oh my god.
So to take an equalising penalty here, David, what team is the highly rated Scott player Ryan Gold currently playing for?
Is it Firenze? Is that what you said?
Firenze is correct.
Yeah.
So it's 2-all. Div to take the lead. Who has the most caps in the current Scotland squad, in the most recent Scotland squad? Who's got the most caps out of all the players?
Craig Gordon.
Craig Gordon's correct. So David, you
Hoping you were going to say Marshall. Fuck.
You need to get this right. David. And surely you're going to get this one. Who were Scotland's first ever opponents in an international match? England, correct.
Oh,
right.
for fuck's
It's
sake,
quite an easy
man.
one.
That's a stinker.
But here you go. The chance for Div to win it. It's the final penalty. Who was the manager of Scotland at the 1986 World Cup?
Ooh. Oh, he might not get this, I don't think. Will I
Fuck.
get it? Will I
Who
get
was
it?
the manager at the 1986
get
World
it?
Cup to win? Oh, well, we
Sir
know
Alex
that.
Ferguson.
It's the correct answer. So Div wins.
Whoa!
Congratulations.
Whoa! Tiebreaker all or nothing. Now listen, it
Is
would
there
only
any questions? But right.
he's got a
All or
tiebreaker.
nothing.
It
Go
would
for
only
it.
be fair.
All or nothing. We got for all or nothing, right? Okay, first.
I gave him that
Do you
before.
know what? Actually, no.
What
I'm
is
going
it?
to.
First answer?
No. We're going to work it a bit differently.
Oh.
So, whoever gets to we're going to do higher or lower. Going to do higher or
Fuck.
lower. The answer is a number. I'll give it to the closest if it's like
Right, closest number. Cool.
basically closest number. I was going to say higher or lower, but I hate it when somebody goes, "Oh, I'll guess 4," then somebody goes, "Oh, well, I'll guess 5," because you know that's it. So closest gets the win. The tie-breaking question is: how many goals has Che Adams scored in the Premier League all time? Not just this season, all time.
Oh, yeah.
How many
Arse
goals
piece.
has Che Adams scored? I will start with you, David. Since you're the one that is losing, I'll let you start first.
I'm going to go with 10.
10 goals, okay. Dev?
6.
6.
I think he scored 6 this season.
Has he? I thought he scored like 3.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, the correct answer, which means the winner, is David Buick. Because the correct answer is 11. So you were only one off. The correct answer is 11. So there you go. David, you've managed to salvage something from the depths of
Sorry, Che. I thought you were absolutely hopeless, pal.
There you go. I mean, 11's not exactly remarkable either, but we'll pretend it is. We'll pretend it is. That does it then. So there we go. That's the show today. We've had.
If anybody's still here and watched all the way through, fucking fair play.
We've had our ups and we've had our downs and we've had our arguments about Scott Brown, and we've ultimately had a quiz.
Scott Brown and Barry Ferguson.
Oh, come on. Aye.
Of course he walks out on that note, doesn't he? Of course he does. He just likes to cause it. Dad, thanks very much for coming and joining us, mate. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And
Barry Ferguson.
No having it. Let's start again. right, lads, thanks for listening. If you go on Spotify, make sure to do all the good stuff. Share it out. Make sure we've got as many people listening as we can. If you're on YouTube, you know what to do. Make sure to hit like and subscribe.
Aye.
Nice.
I answered Stevie Whittaker, mate.
Well.
That was my answer. So I make sure to hit like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And follow us on Twitter. All the links to our channels as well will be in the description. We'll see you all next time.